What if the reason why you can't sleep at night has nothing to do with willpower, but has everything to do with a switch in your brain that you didn't even know existed? If you're ever exhausted all day long and you just wait for that moment the clock hits 9 p.m. so you can say, finally, time to go to bed. But as soon as your head hits the pillow, something changes. Your brain activates in a different way, and all of a sudden, you're wide awake. You lie there and your mind starts racing about work and about things that you haven't done and about some memory from 2019 that you thought you had forgotten all about. If that's you, then stick around, because in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact two-step mechanism that's causing this and why almost everything you try to do to fix it eventually stops working. If you don't know me already, my name's Andrew Ernst. I'm a sleep and insomnia coach for business owners, and I'm here to help you get high quality sleep every single night. But first, we have to kill a huge myth. Most people think that the word tired and the word sleepy are the same. They're not. Tired just means you have low energy, and this could happen after a long day of work, after a tough workout, or just during a stressful period of time in your life. But it doesn't mean that your brain is ready to shut off yet. Feeling sleepy is much different. Feeling sleepy is when your body and your brain are both ready for sleep, and they're ready to sleep now. And here's how you know the difference. When you're actually sleepy is when your eyelids start to get heavy and your head starts to nod forward and you start moving into the first stages of sleep. And here's the part that nobody tells you. If you try to get in bed before you actually feel sleepy, you're likely going to lay there wide awake, unable to fall asleep for a very long time. Because it all boils down to a measurable process called sleep pressure that has been backed up by science for decades. You see, back in the 80s, scientists discovered what's called a two-process model for sleep. One process is your internal clock, and the other process is called sleep pressure, which actually builds the longer you're awake. Think of it like your hunger drive. From the moment you have your last meal, every hour that goes by, you get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier until you eat food, and then that resets the cycle. Sleep drive works in a similar way. Every moment that you're awake, it builds and builds and builds, and once it hits a point where it's high enough, you start to feel sleepy, and then that's when your body goes to bed and it resets the whole cycle again, just like your hunger drive. So if you wake up around 6 a.m., you probably will not really be feeling truly sleepy until around 11 p.m. the next day. Which means that if you try and go to bed before that, you're likely not going to be able to sleep very well, and it's going to take you a long time in bed before that sleepiness naturally kicks in, if it even kicks in at all, because there's a whole nother way that this can get screwed up if you go to bed too early. And there's a few other ways that people mess up the sleep drive as well. Number one is they take too many naps, or they take a really long nap that sort of resets the sleep pressure, or they sleep in too late. And then now the process gets pushed back farther and they won't feel truly sleepy till way later in the night. And it just causes all kinds of confusion and problems of why the heck can't I sleep consistently. And another trap many of my clients fall into is they try to go to bed early because they want to catch up on sleep. But like I've been talking about, if the sleep drive isn't activated, you go to bed too early, you're just going to be stuck there wide awake. And it's really annoying. Now, this is all well and good to know, but there's a second component to sleep that even if your sleep drive was at the proper level and it was really, really high, which is common for most people who can't sleep, they still can't sleep because there's a second process called hyperarousal, which is something that happens in our brain when we experience stress, anxiety, worry, fear, doubt. Any strong negative emotion can activate what's called the amygdala in our brain, which triggers the fight or flight response, which makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to fall asleep, because when the fight or flight response triggers, the brain thinks that there's some type of a threat in the bedroom, and it doesn't allow you to sleep as a survival mechanism. Because in evolutionary times, we had to develop this mechanism so that if we heard a crazy noise or something triggered this system in our brain, we would be forced to stay awake in order to not die, not to be killed in our sleep by some type of a predator. And unfortunately, this circuitry still exists in our brain today, and it can cause you all kinds of problems when you don't understand it. So for example, let's say you go to bed too early, you lie in bed, and you're not able to sleep. Now you start checking the time, start calculating, oh great, tomorrow I have all these things I have to do. It's already 4 a.m, I haven't slept a wink. I'm going to be totally exhausted tomorrow. What is wrong with me? I've been dealing with this for months. All this rumination starts to trigger this fight or flight response in our brain, compounded with the fact that we went to bed too early and our sleep drive isn't even ready, there's no way you're going to sleep. But if instead, when let's say you do go to bed too early and you can't sleep, you realize, oh, you know what? I woke up around whatever time, 8 a.m., and it's not even close to been 17 hours yet. So what am I doing trying to force myself to fall asleep? Then you can go and just do something you enjoy to fill the time, right? Until the sleepiness comes. You can do things like watching TV, watching a movie, hanging out with your family, playing a game, whatever it is. That the key is that you actually have to enjoy the activity, because when you do things you enjoy, it's kind of like the opposite of stress, and your brain produces chemicals that actually relax you and make sleep easier to happen as you wait out the time that needs to go by for your sleep drive to kick in. So in order to actually beat insomnia for good, you have to learn how to manage these two mechanisms, the sleep pressure and the hyperarousal. So how do we fix this? Well, the first thing you got to do is you need to focus more on the time that you wake up than the time that you go to bed, because you can't always control exactly when you're going to feel sleepy and when you're going to be falling asleep, but you can very easily control the time that you wake up using your alarm. And if you need multiple alarms, that's fine. Do that as well. Now, why does this work? It's because, like I said, the 17 hours starts from the moment you wake up. So if you control the time that you wake up, you can at least be sure that by the time you even try and go to bed later that night, it's been at least 17 hours. That's assuming you don't take any kind of crazy long naps or, like I said, sleep in or try to go to bed too early, right? So you lock in your wake up time. That's the very first thing you need to do. And it needs to be the same on the weekends as much as possible, because if you are perfectly diligent throughout the week, but then on the weekend you just go off and do whatever, then it's possible that the cycle can start again and you have to start all over. So if you've been struggling with sleep for several years, it's going to be really worth it to you to just stay consistent week after week with your wake up times. And then again, you have to wait until you feel that sleepiness before you even try and go to sleep, even if it means that you have to be awake later than you want to be, because this is, obviously this is not exactly what we want. If we had what we want, we'd be sleeping perfectly already and we wouldn't be watching this video. But to fix this problem so that you can get to that point where you don't have to worry about sleep anymore, this is how it's done. So you lock in the wake up time. You avoid taking long naps. Anything over 20 minutes is too long. You absolutely do not sleep in, and you absolutely do not go to bed until you feel sleepy. Okay, this is the key to maximizing your sleep drive. Now we need to talk about hyperarousal, the second part of the equation. So let's assume you woke up at the proper time. You've waited until you feel sleepy. Now this is very important, this next part. When you go to bed, do not have any expectations of outcomes, meaning don't expect that it's going to happen instantly or within a few minutes or within X amount of time. Do not expect that it's going to work perfectly every single time. Do not expect that you're never going to be stuck awake again. Instead, just focus on, I've been awake long enough, I'm feeling sleepy, let me go and lay down. And if I can't sleep, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to do things I enjoy. And that's why I suggested earlier that you figure out what can you do at night in bed. If you don't want to be in bed, that's fine, whatever, so that you can make your nights enjoyable. Okay, and like I recommended before, podcasts, TV shows, video game, sporting event, whatever it is that you personally enjoy. You need to have 2 or 3 of these things in your back pocket so that if you do feel like, oh, I'm not falling asleep in the time frame that I want, you're not stuck there just staring at the ceiling, feeling all upset about yourself or worrying about the future. You need to be able to be in that moment and be comfortable and be calm and happy and not worried, right? And that only can be done if you're prepared, right? So with those 2 things together, understanding sleep drive, understanding sleep pressure, and understanding how hyperarousal work, and realizing that sleep is a function of being awake for at least 17 hours and then having a very low activity in the amygdala, those 2 things together is what allows your body to produce sleep. There's no other way. Any other external mechanism can maybe create sedation, right? Pills can create sedation, but that is ultimately not what actual sleep is. Sleep can only be produced by your body when the conditions are correct. So try those things. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great night and have a great sleep.